everybody! It's Monday, so that means it's time for family movie night. And this week we have the opening of Finding Dory. And so that means that we of course had to talk about, for family movie night, we had to talk about Finding Nemo, the original Pixar animated masterpiece that came out in 2003. I remember seeing Finding Nemo just months before I went on my mission, and I was totally blown away by it. I've always had a special sort of kinship with the ocean and with anything with the water, and I think that Finding Nemo is maybe a bit underrated as far as its visual beauty versus its story, which everybody sort of remembers. But if you watch Finding Nemo, every inch of the screen is animated. There are coral, it's incredible the seascapes that they create. And you think of the water that we had seen previous to this had been pretty rough in like A Bug's Life and some of the other animated films, some of the CG animated films. So this was a huge step up for Pixar in their animation. A lot of things that they really nailed in Finding Nemo. First of all, we have incredible vocal performances. This was a turning point for Ellen DeGeneres in her career. She'd had some rocky patches with her sitcom and some other things. And Finding Nemo really brought her back into some public consciousness. Now she has her talk show, everything like that. And she's great as Dory. She's sweet and lovable and wonderful. And then Albert Brooks as Marlon is wonderful. The voice cast, just great. You have William Dafoe in here, Jeffrey Rush, Brad Garrett, Allison Janney, Stephen Root. There's just a lot of really great vocal talent in this movie. But all the vocal talent in the world can't overcome a bad story. And we certainly see that with DreamWorks' Shark Tale, which came out the same time as Finding Nemo, which I think is not good at all, because the story isn't very good and the characters aren't very likable. But in this story, Finding Nemo, we get extremely likable characters from the very beginning, and we have a good story. And so what is the story? The story is, of course, about Marlon, who at the beginning, it's a very traumatic scene from Pixar, that he is with his wife, Coral, and they have their eggs and they're watching over them, and a predator comes and attacks Coral, kills Coral, and takes all of the eggs but one. And so Marlon makes a deal with the egg, says that you're going to be named Nemo because that was the name that Coral liked, and I'm never going to let anything happen to you. That's what he promises. And so he's extraordinarily overprotective of his little Nemo. And Nemo has a hurt fin. He has a bad fin, as they call it. And so at the beginning of the movie, Nemo is getting ready to go on his first day of school. Well, Marlon is, of course, freaking out about it. And he finds out that they are going, as part of the school, going to the Overlook, which is a dangerous place in Marlon's mind. So he goes there, and it's interesting because Nemo is actually being obedient. He's not wanting to go and break the rules, but then when Marlon comes and accuses him of going to break the rules, he becomes more and more defiant. And he goes and he touches the boat, and he ends up getting caught by a scuba diver who then takes him to his aquarium. It's a dentist office, and the dentist office aquarium has a number of different fish, including one named Gil, who is voiced by William Dafoe, who also was from the sea and who dreams of escaping the aquarium and going back to the sea. Well, this starts off sort of our two stories of the film. You have Marlon, who is looking for his son, who then meets Dory, who has no long-term memory. And so she doesn't, then you meet Dory, who has no short-term memory. And so she is a very funny companion for this journey that they're on. But for some reason, when she is with Marlon, she remembers things. And she remembers particularly the address of the dentist's office, which is on the goggles that fall off of the boat. So they go on this journey, and includes meeting turtles and a turtle named Crush, who's so funny, and some other things. And then also you have the story of Nemo with the aquarium fish, and him sort of learning to have confidence because Gil is not going to baby him like his father has been. And so there's that story as well. There's some really hilarious jokes with the niece of the dentist named Darla, who is a fish killer and is the villain of the movie, despite being a little girl. This is really funny. And then also you have Marlon and Dory, who end up getting taken to a Sharks Alcohol Anonymous kind of group, where they have decided not to eat fish anymore. And so there's 3 of these sharks, and these fish are friends, not food. Hilarious. And it's so surprising. I just watched it, and I still just was so charmed by every inch of this movie. There are so many things that when it first came out, like the AA sharks, that was so funny. And I still think it's funny. I still like it. And I don't know, it was just so surprising. And when I first saw the sharks, I would never have guessed in a million years that it was going to some kind of AA meeting. That was so clever. And I think there are really tense scenes, like when they're in the jellyfish forest. That's really great. And you see Marlon start to learn to trust other people, trust Dory, but he has this desperation because it's his only son, and he has let his son down. He's let Coral down by losing his son. And he also gets to start to see how he realizes that by not wanting his son to have anything happen to him, he was actually hurting his son. He realizes this is sort of his fault. And so that's really, really good. And like I said, you also get sort of this nice story in the aquarium. And I really like Nigel as this bird. He's really funny. You get the seagulls with their mine. It's really funny. And yeah, it's just great. I think it packs emotion until the end, when Marlon finally has to really trust Nemo and listen to his son in a new way. So it has lots of great lessons for kids. I think there's lessons on loyalty and on parenting and dealing with your parents, but also being yourself and having confidence and all. There's just so many lessons that can be learned. Lessons about grief and dealing with grief and loss and so yeah, and it's just, like I said, so beautiful. It's got great music by Thomas Newman, that's just wonderful, and altogether it's just a great watch. I love it. It's in my top 50 animated films countdown for sure, and I can't wait to see Finding Dory. I'm so excited. I've heard really good things from everybody who's seen it, so it should be great. So yeah, what do you think about Finding Nemo? Are you excited for Finding Dory? And let me know, how do you think that Finding Nemo holds up all of these years? And thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll talk to you later. Bye.